Welcome to the What is Stoicism podcast.
The question of how to live well has captivated philosophers across centuries, from the Stoics of ancient Rome to the essayists of the Renaissance. The same thread of inquiry runs through their writings. How do we make peace with life's limits? And perhaps more challengingly, with its end? Michel de Montaigne, a 16th century nobleman, government official and wine grower, wrestled with this question more personally than most. Deeply influenced by classical schools like Stoicism, he devoted much of his writing to understanding what it means to live wisely and fully. As Sarah Bakewell explains in her superb book How to Live, Montaigne's essays can be read as a series of answers to that timeless question. The first and perhaps most liberating of these answers is simple: don't worry about death. Montaigne didn't arrive at this view easily. In his 20s, he was haunted by the thought of dying. His fear grew so oppressive that he could scarcely enjoy life while he still had it. His anxiety was compounded by a series of painful losses. His best friend, his father, his brother, and even his infant child. Death seemed to surround him, consuming his thoughts. The Stoics, such as Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, encouraged the contemplation of mortality as a way to sharpen our appreciation of the present. But Montaigne's meditations had tipped into obsession. For years he was paralysed by the inevitability of death, until a violent accident changed everything. Thrown from his horse and gravely injured, Montaigne found himself hovering on the threshold between life and death. When he recovered, he realised something profound. Dying, as he had experienced it, was far less terrifying than he had imagined. It was, he wrote later, merely a few unpleasant moments at the end of life, hardly worth the years of anguish he had given it. Bakewell summarises his revelation. Death is only a few bad moments at the end of life. It is not worth wasting any anxiety over. From being the gloomiest among his acquaintances, he became the most carefree of middle-aged men, and a master of the art of living well. This insight echoed the Stoic view of Marcus Aurelius, who wrote in his meditations, quote, "To be afraid of death is to be afraid of either unconsciousness or a different kind of consciousness. But if death is the end of consciousness, you won't be conscious of anything bad either. And if you gain a different kind of consciousness, you'll be a different kind of creature, which is to say that you'll still be alive." End quote. In both Montaigne and Marcus we see the same truth. Fear of death is wasted energy. The only sensible response to the inevitability of death is acceptance, and with acceptance comes freedom. As Bakewell concludes, "Don't worry about death" became Montaigne's most fundamental and liberating answer to how to live. It released him from the paralysis of fear and allowed him to truly live. And yet, while Montaigne's wisdom teaches us not to fear the end of life, another great thinker, Seneca, warns us against wasting the life we have. In his essay on the shortness of life, Seneca addresses those who complain that life is too brief, that time rushes past before they can grasp it. The problem, he says, is not that life is short, but that we squander it. It's not that we have a short space of time, but that we waste much of it, Seneca writes. Life is long enough, and it has been given in sufficiently generous measure to allow the accomplishment of the very greatest things, if the whole of it is well invested. For Seneca, time is our most precious possession, but most people, he laments, treat it as if it were infinite, frittering it away in trivial pursuits, distractions, and vanity projects. Only when death nears do they realise, too late, how little of life they truly lived. This Stoic urgency finds a modern echo in the writer Annie Dillard's The Writing Life, where she observes, "How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. What we do with this hour and that one is what we are doing." Dillard's reflection could be lifted directly from Seneca's pages. She emphasises structure, presence, and purpose. A schedule defends from chaos and whim. It's a net for catching days, a scaffolding on which a worker can stand and labour with both hands at sections of time. A schedule is a peace and a haven set into the wreck of time. Her net for catching days is not merely a productivity tool, but a moral discipline, a way of giving shape and intention to a fleeting life. Both Dillard and Seneca remind us that time, once spent, can't be retrieved. The way we use our hours is the way we write the story of our lives. Seneca concludes on the shortness of life with an image as vivid as Dillard's. So it is, the life we receive is not short, but we make it so. Nor do we have any lack of it, but are wasteful of it. Just as great and princely wealth is scattered in a moment when it comes into the hands of a bad owner, while wealth, however limited, if it is entrusted to a good guardian, increases by its use, so our life is amply long for him who orders it properly. The contrast between Seneca and Montaigne is striking but complementary. Montaigne tells us not to waste our lives fearing death. Seneca tells us not to waste them in distraction. One frees us from anxiety about the future. The other anchors us in purpose for the present. Together they offer a complete philosophy of living. Don't fear the end of life, for it's neither here nor worthy of dread. But do fear a life unlived, for every moment squandered is a piece of existence lost forever. So as you go about your day, remember both teachers. Remember Montaigne's calm acceptance that death is nothing to fear. And remember Seneca's call to attention that time is your most precious resource. If you can stop worrying about the time you don't have and start cherishing the time you do, you will, in the truest Stoic sense, have learned how to live.